Welcome back. We're going to quickly jump into this one, covering the second part of this guide, and this one's really focusing on how to do nighttime renders. Hopefully this one shouldn't be too bad. It's a continuation of a lot of the stuff we covered in the first part of this tutorial series. It should be pretty straightforward, I hope. So of course, just make your scene up as normal. I think this could work, but there's a few things we need to do first. We need a sky texture. I could set this to black, that could work. We could enable clouds, again, it's an option, but I'm going to use a panoramic sky texture. So we just need to find one of these first of all. If you search for something like a Milky Way panoramic, of course you will need to probably double check the licensing for a lot of these kind of images, but shouldn't be much of an issue. I mean, it's a texture in the background, it shouldn't be a problem. So this one they provide for free anyway, so it's not really a problem. It's a lot of these other websites, you just got to be careful of the licensing. Like, this looks pretty good. You just need to check how much quality there is. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. This is about 8K, which should be decent. This one looks to be higher quality than even that. Okay, let me zoom out. What does it say? I actually don't know, but there's a download button. Okay, that's always a good sign. Oh, here we go, some rights reserved. What's the thing? Creative Commons generic. Okay, so yes, here we go. This is the web address. I'll try and keep this open just so we can get to it, but this is the one we're using, just so you know. It seems to load fine. Yeah, this is a pretty common thing that happens. You just have to ignore that. Probably set it to full resolution, and there's a seam in there because it's not a 360-degree texture. That's unfortunate, but we're just going to pick a point we'd like to look at. So this one might look good, so we just hit start. Little problem, if you have the denoiser, just untick those boxes, and when you hit start it will just render the scene as normal. So this is a bit unfortunate. We're going to have to just change the post-processing mode here, just because that sky texture is very strong, and in fact that's perfect. So having it set to none gets rid of a lot of that extra detail in that sky map. So post-processing mode is of course really useful, as I previously outlined. Just try out a few of these different modes just to see what one looks the best, and I think not having any post-processing here, pretty decent. Now we need to get into some of the lighting properties. Before we do that, we want to set the fog color. Probably for fog you want to go for this nice sort of dark navy color, give it a bit of a fog, a bit of a denser fog. That looks okay. Let's just drag this back a little bit just to keep that will increase the density, but will keep the blending amount at probably about 0.7 maybe. Yeah, I feel that would work. That could work pretty well. I might just want to see what happens if we use the post-processing here. So that makes it really bright, which is why I don't really want. But Aces actually looks pretty decent there. That could work. So for colour, I'm going to shift this down into a deeper colour. And now we get into lighting. Lighting is going to be a very important one. For the colour, I feel like a light, like a bit of a light blue. You probably want to drop the intensity down to about 0.5. Skylight, you probably don't have to touch too much. It's just a bit of ambient light, and that's starting to come along pretty well. I do feel I need to increase the skylight just a touch more, maybe even increase the direct lighting just to see what happens. It's not much. A lot of it is down to the colour that we've chosen there. That's part of the problem. The position of that sun is in front of the camera, which we don't really want. We don't, because I haven't changed the texture for that. I kind of just want to hide it. In fact, if we drop this to 25, just give it 2 seconds, and we bring it around the other way. I want to see what we can pull off with this. I have no idea where it is, but that is fine. Let's just move it around a bit. We can see the fog is reacting a bit there. So for that angle, we have this lower portion over on the right here, which is in shade. The rest of it is in light, which is good. So let's just give this another name. So let's call this test number 2. Save that. We're slowly getting somewhere with this one. Maybe adjust my selection a little bit. Just keep this as optimal as possible. This building is most certainly going to be incorporated in the render, and I would say a lot of this would probably be visible from where our perspective there. I don't really want this plane, so I'm just going to like casually ignore it, but we're going to load everything else in that section. I could load all of this over here as well, but I feel that might be a bit too far away from our current camera. So that's, we will try this. We'll just load those selected chunks. Of course, a lot of this would be masked by the fog, but we still kind of need to have some of it loaded in off in the distance, because otherwise the render would be a bit bland. So we just press go on this one for 2 seconds just to see what this looks like. Yeah, we do have this, in fact, we'll set that blend in a bit higher just to really mask up what's down there. That looks kind of nice. Probably a good idea to enable the water plane and just set up the water. So the water plane, if I just reset this, the water plane just gives us this sort of fake water off into the distance there. Give the water its typical colour. I mean, you're not really going to be able to see off to the water there, but we may as well enable it. This starting to look okay, I mean, in terms of the presentation here, but there is still, of course, this usual tweaks that we need to do if we're going to be enabling emitters. We just set the emitters of all our torches to 1. Probably search for sea mountains, just because we need to set them back up to 1, otherwise they're not going to be that bright. And we'll enable emitters at about 50. Make sure your ray depth is about 5-ish, because again, if it's too high it might not work. And we will just see what happens if we let this one bake out. So we can kind of see that off into the distance here we're losing a lot of emittance, which may not be a good thing. We're going to just boost the exposure just because it is kind of dark. We might just need to make a few adjustments from here, but already that kind of works. We can actually reveal a bit more about what's going on in this scene, so that is actually very helpful for me. I'm going to shift this fog color because, I mean, this is, I feel the brightness for the sky back there is good enough. In fact, this just froze on me. There we go. It does that. We'll just make this a bit like a darker blue, because I like the how strong those what's in the sky there is. This is actually looking a bit weird and wonderful, but there's not really much I can do about that. Clouds, again, I have this weird obsession with just putting clouds on everything at the moment. Just don't mind it. We'll just see what it looks like. It looks pretty damn terrible. So yeah, we're not going to use clouds on this one. I don't feel it's going to work that well. But this is, we're starting to get somewhere with this one, I feel. I feel we could boost the light a bit more. Let's just get maybe not so much direct lighting, but we'll push the skylight up, because I'm thinking with the skylight we get this we start inheriting some of the colors that you get in the sky there. This is a lot tweaking to try and get everything to balance just right, and I still feel that this fog density is too high. What's going on? Okay, this could work. I feel this could work. So we have a pretty strong amount of skylight. It's based in everything in this really nice color, but it's still pretty strong. So I'm going to pull back a bit on the light that we're getting from those light sources, just to give us this slightly darker color. maybe boost the fog a little bit just to bring it back in. And really a lot of this is going to be relying on what these emitters can do for us. Let's give this a second. So this is a lot darker in its approach, and we don't have as much fog and all that, but we're getting these oranges are coming out a bit more. So let's just make sure this is set to 512, and I'll be back in about a minute just to see what this looks like. Alright, so I've let this render for a little while. We're at about 300 odd SSP. And while yes, there is a bit of noise here, I'm not gonna like hide that fact, but it's honestly not that bad, and it's enough that we can get a good idea as to what the final piece is gonna look like when we do a full render. This is roughly what we're going to be getting, and of course, as usual, I will show you what the final render looks like. This isn't the best render I've ever done, but it's a start. I might add a bit of depth of field to it, but you already know how to do that.